Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
You are listening to the Brilliance Business Show. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. Conversations with leading experts in business. And today I have the most incredible guest, Yaawusuah Adjepong. Hannah is an international award-winning poet, and our topic today is life-affirming stories. Hannah, welcome to the Brilliance Business Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
It's great to have you on the show, Hannah. I'm looking forward to a conversation with you. Before I get started, I just need to make a legal disclaimer that Hannah is not offering legal advice or legal assistance. So let's get started with the show. Hannah, can you share with our listeners a little about yourself and your business?
Okay, thank you so much, Mark. My life began in a village in Ghana. I was born in Krinkwasi, which at the time I was born, there were no schools at all in my village. But thanks to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who was fighting for Ghana's independence, part of his manifesto was to educate every child in Ghana. So he introduced the compulsory free education for children up to the age of 16. And it is only because of that that I had a chance to go to school. Well, school was wonderful. Our teachers were very dedicated and helpful. If you think of the fact that our parents never went to school, therefore, when we started school, they couldn't help us with our homework. Okay, they had no idea, but they were just happy that we were going to school. And so our teachers were not only teaching us the lessons in school, they also helped us with our homework. And this is how I came through school. During my school years, I got to the age of 15 when my mother relocated from where we were to a bigger town called Hohoe in the Volta region. At that time, things were a bit difficult for my mother. Even though education was free, she had to buy the school books and buy the school uniform. And this was a challenge for her. And so she told me that I should stop schooling and help her in the market. And so I worked with my mother in the market. I also carried things on the big platter and sold in the neighborhood, walked through the neighborhood and sold things, toiletries. And in my life, I now reflect on one man who I believe was very instrumental in getting me to go back to school. He called me to buy soap, and where we had relocated to Hohoe, there were Ewe-speaking people. Where I come from in Krinkwasi, we speak the Kachi language, and we speak a bit of Twi as well. But I was not able to speak Ewe at the time that this man called me to buy the soap. So he was speaking to me in Ewe, and I answered in English. And I said to him, "Please, sir, I don't understand Ewe." And I think he was a bit taken aback. He said, "I want to buy soap. Why are you not in school? Have you completed your elementary school already?" And I said, "No, sir." And then he said, "Why are you not in school?" And I said, "Sir, I would have been in my final year, but my mother can't afford to buy my school uniform or my books." And then he said, "Who is your mother?" And I told him. "And where is your mother in the market?" And I told him, because my mother was selling yams in the market. So I thought the man wanted to go and see my mother and buy yams. So he bought his soap and I just carried on. I carried on selling. Later, it turned out that this man went to see my mother and convinced her to send me back to school. So every time I give a talk anywhere, I mention him, even though I don't know his name, because I never asked his name. In my culture, you don't ask an adult what is your name. And so up till this day, I don't know this man's name, but he was very instrumental in getting me to go back to school. Okay, going back to school after a year's absence, I was fortunate enough to be accepted into the Roman Catholic girls' school at Bui in Hohoi. And our headmistress, Mrs. Theresa Senu, was passionate about poetry. And so she got us to learn lots of poems like, what have we done today? We shall do so much in the years to come. But what have we done today? By Waterman Nixon. And then Lord Tennyson's poem, The Old Order Changeth, Yielding Place to New. And someone like Robert Southey, his poem, Bishop Harto. And it was Robert Southey's poem that really captured my young imagination. And so I was able to learn the whole poem and recite it in front of the whole school. Little did I know that I was in the process of learning to speak publicly and also in the process of becoming a poet. So that is, I can't call it a nutshell, but that is how my life started.
Hannah, that is such an inspiring story. I know all the great work you are doing for children, and I just found it touching to hear that someone who really inspired you, and you don't even know that person's name, but that is such a beautiful story. Can you share, Hannah, with our listeners, who are your customers? Who are your clients? Who do you serve?
Okay, thank you. In public speaking, I have spoken on many platforms. I've spoken about Black history in colleges. I've spoken in charity events. I've spoken in events organized by the council. In 2007, the Telford and Wrekin Council actually invited me to co-write a play about the abolition of the slave trade. So I did that. But what I do most is work in schools. I've worked in over 40 schools in Shropshire, telling the children stories that I have created myself. And in the workshop, I also help the children to create their own stories. The reason I have branded my stories as life-affirming stories is because when I tell the children the stories, I have questions at the back of each of the books I write to help the children actually see themselves in the story, to see which character really resonates with a child. And the question will be, what would you have done differently if you were in the story? By doing that, the children remember the story and also look at the story from their point of view. I think that a story is a story, but unless you really reflect on it and see that you could have changed something if you were in the story, it just becomes a story. And this I have successfully done for over 10 years. And now what I want to do is to engage parents who would like to create stories with their own children. Because I think the joy I get from the contribution of the children when I ask them to create a story, the joy I get from that, I sometimes think, oh my goodness, their parents don't even know how imaginative these children are. And so if I could bring this from the classrooms to the family table and engage parents for them to enjoy this amazing time of their children's lives, I think I would like to do that.
I can hear the joy you get from your work, Hannah, and I know how passionate you are. I recently spoke in a school as well on drug awareness, and the satisfaction I got knowing that I was inspiring children and helping them make better decisions in life. So I know the feeling you must get from serving all of these children that you're looking after. Do you recall a specific aha moment that led to the launch of your business?
I have always had children. My children were always bringing their friends to the house, and I always shared stories with them. But when I spoke at a Black History Month event, I was the keynote speaker here in Telford, and there was a lady there who approached me after my speech to say, "Would you like to work in our schools as a storyteller?" Wow, I'd never thought about that. So that was like an invitation. And when I started going to the schools, it just spread like wildfire. There were some schools I could not fulfill because I was being asked to speak maybe on the same dates. But I really enjoyed, not only telling children the stories. What I enjoyed most was getting the children to bring their imagination to the table and all of us creating a story together. That was an aha moment. Another moment was when I normally work in primary schools. I like to work in primary schools because I believe that's where we lay the foundations. But occasionally I get invited to secondary schools. And I was sharing my story, Panda Song, in one secondary school. And after that, this girl came to me in tears and said, "Thank you so much for Panda Song. I've never accepted myself. Now I want to accept myself as the person I am." And that really inspired me more, not to limit myself to maybe just primary schools. And there are teenagers, there are children in higher education who, because maybe they did not have that strong foundation in primary school, they carry this lack of self-worth and lack of confidence. They carry it with them to secondary school. And this young lady, she looked so beautiful, and yet, like Panda, she couldn't accept herself. And I'm glad I did that. I did that session in that school, if it was only for that one teenager.
That's just beautiful, Anna. I really admire what you're doing. Can you share with us what really motivates you to jump out of bed every single morning?
Thank you, Mark. Every single morning, I believe that I can use words to encourage somebody who is feeling low, somebody who is facing the challenges of life. Even though I write these life-affirming stories for children, I also write poetry. And one of my poems says, life goes on, okay? The sun will shine again. When you're going through the dark periods of life, remember, the sun will shine again. When we are overcast and we don't see the sun, it does not mean that the sun is not shining. It's shining beyond the clouds. And so my motivation, what wakes me up every morning, is that maybe through the use of inspiring words, somebody somewhere will be encouraged to just have the strength to face another day. My previous work was nursing. I was a nurse and I was a midwife. And so therefore, I've come in contact with many different issues. with people. And I think one of the things that sometimes we don't pay much attention to is how we speak to people. Is the words we speak.
I agree with you totally. Words are so powerful. And what a beautiful poem as well, Hannah. Hannah, what sets your business apart and what unique need are you filling for your clients, customers and children?
What sets me apart is my ability to connect with people. I connect with people on quite a deeper level, and I like to listen. I think listening is so important.
Yes.
And so in my life affirming stories, I have 3 things that I approach with the children: effective listening, problem solving, and confident speaking. Because if we don't listen effectively, we will miss the problems. And if we miss the problems, we cannot speak into people's lives. We cannot engage with them at the point where they need it most. So I believe listening is very important.
Listening is a very important skill, and unfortunately, Hannah, some people just like to talk and not listen. And the way I have been brought up, I'm a really good listener. I do agree with you totally. I feel listening is such a big skill, and sometimes just listening to someone could really change their life. They may be just needing someone to just listen and just be there for them. Now, Hannah, can you share more detail on the kind of services and products that you offer?
Okay. The services I offer is helping parents and children to connect with each other and create a story. I also offer some of my poems on posters. One of my poems that is in great demand is The Woman in the Mirror. The Woman in the Mirror is in great demand. Some of my award-winning poems are Dreaming Joseph, Life Goes On.
You've done that many, Hannah, you can't even remember them.
Yes. Okay, I got my friend here.
You've got a little supporter with you to help you remember. That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, I Am a Child. It's another poem I wrote. I am a child, and 10 years from now, I like people to think ahead, because sometimes life gets in the way and all you can see is today. So I like to encourage people to think about 10 years from now. 10 years from now, what would I be doing? Okay, how am I going to use the skills I've acquired today in 10 years from now? And so I offer that. And now my life affirming stories also, I got 6 books, 6 children's books. I've got Zelia the Young Gazelle. Zelia, a young gazelle that asks so many questions like some of our children do. I've got The Guinea Fowl Doesn't Care. And in The Guinea Fowl Doesn't Care, I ask questions like, how would you help a person who doesn't know how to help themselves? And then I have Let's Write a Book. I have Anya's Cat. I have Sporty Blue Ted. Sporty Blue Ted also has been in great demand because it's about soft toys who came alive in a thunderstorm. And then I have Panda Song. Panda Song is the book that resonates with both primary school children and secondary school children. In Panda Song, I write about a beautiful bear that the panda is, but Panda doesn't know she's beautiful. Panda looks at herself and thinks that she's only patches. She's neither black nor white. And so I use this story to encourage self-acceptance. I also use it to encourage positive, supportive community building, because if we are able to help our children in school to support each other, they grow up with it. And there is nothing more beautiful than a community that is supportive, a community that nobody feels isolated in, and a community that know they can just tell by looking at you that you're not having a good day. What a wonderful community. And so this is what I want to help the children to learn to build at an early age so they grow up with it.
And these are great skills, what children really, really do need, because I remember as a child, it can be lonely, you can get insecure, and it's such greatness that you're helping so many children. I would imagine you have all sorts of client success stories. Can you just share one success story with us, Hannah?
Okay, there was one time that I was interviewing for somebody to help type up my poems. And this young lady came for the interview. And the moment she entered, she said, "Oh, you were the lady who came and told us the story about the singing tortoise." And it wasn't an interview. We just reminisced about, the story that I told this story in the primary school. And she had come out of school and needed a job. And immediately she saw me, she remembered. I think that was successful. And she said she always remembered that story. And she tells the story to her siblings. And that story is also about the power of listening.
And the power of a story and the power of voice. And that story now is going on through to other people from you just sharing it once. That is a real nice success story, Hannah. How do clients typically hear about you? And are there certain life moments that usually lead to them seeking you out?
Yes, with my schoolwork, it has mostly been word of mouth. I think head teachers spoke to head teachers, children spoke to parents, parents spoke to other parents. Right now, I want to form an online community. I am telling the story of Joseph, which is behind my poem, Dreaming Joseph. I've been telling that story on my Facebook Live for the past 2 weeks. And through that, I want to form an online community. Anybody who would like to join that online community where we can share our stories, where it is safe for people to share their stories and then create our own stories. My passion is for every home to have a unique story that they wrote themselves and either publish it into a book that is on the bookshelf that belongs to them. That has got the names of grandpa or the dog of the house or their cat. That is my passion. If parents will join me, and I'll show them in a step-by-step way how they can create these stories with their children. It helps with conversation. It breaks down the barrier between the old and the young. Today in our digital age, it's good for the children to be on their tablets and play their computer games. But I believe that if we do not start the conversation again, creating stories together again, a time will come when we lose the art of conversation. We lose that incredible time of laughter. When a child says something out of the blue and you laugh till your belly aches, we need that as parents. Life is so stressful. And so Yes, life can be so stressful, and nothing makes a parent laugh as much as when a child just comes out of the blue with something. And this is what I want to encourage.
Hannah, I love what you're doing in this world. I can hear your passion. I can hear the joy it brings you. It brings a smile to my face, all these children that you're helping. Is there anything we did not cover today that you would like to share?
Okay, what I'd like to share is that parenting is hard work, especially single parenting. So if you're a single parent, you ask yourself, where am I going to find the time, to create a story with my children? But I think it is very important, because I've been to some funerals where the bereaved were saying, oh, we wish we had recorded granddad's stories. Or we wish we had recorded mom's stories. And I think we don't want to leave it too late. This is the time that we can record all the stories, all the everyday things that are happening in our lives. And I promise you, in years to come, you can look back to those stories and the memories will just flash back. Wonderful memories. Life is stressful. Life has got challenges, but we need to interspace those challenges with times of real joy, real laughter that will make us face each day.
Hannah, what a beautiful way to close the show. The time is now. Don't leave it until it's too late. Record those memories, record those stories now. I absolutely love what you're doing. Can you share with our listeners, how can people follow you? How can people connect with you?
Thank you so much, Mark. You can follow me on Facebook. My name is Hannah Yaawusuah Adjepong. If you just put Hannah Adjepong in the search engine, I will come. You see me. So Adjepong is Adjepong. Hannah Adjepong. I am on Twitter. I am on YouTube. I am on LinkedIn.
Website
and Instagram.
Website.
So you're pretty much on all social media. So please reach out to Hannah Yaawusuah Adjepong. And also, Hannah, we will put links onto the show so that people can find you easily. Hannah, thank you so much for being a guest on the Brilliance Business Show today. I have really enjoyed a conversation with you.
Thank you, Mark. And my website is www.inspireandbless.com.
And
Inspire,
that's easy to
A-N-D.
remember.
Yeah.
Say that
Thank
once
you.
more, Hannah.
www.inspireandbless.com.
That is perfect. And I will be sure to put a link to that website so that people can find it easy. Thank you so much for being a guest. I've really enjoyed having you on the show, Hannah.
I appreciate you having me on your show as well, Mark. And keep doing the good work you're doing. We appreciate that.
And you keep on doing the great work that you're doing. It's much needed in this world. You have been listening to the Brilliance Business Show. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. Conversations with leading experts in business.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.